A deadline set by the Office for Personnel Management to federal agencies to issue layoffs, well, it's now passed. This comes amid a push by the Trump administration to downsize the federal government. But how do voters feel about this push to cut agencies, everything from the FAA to the CDC? Let's bring in CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand for more on this. I know you've been speaking with people. Natalie, good morning.
Good morning, Errol. I spoke to a little more than a dozen people in Northern Virginia. Many, understandably, were nervous to go on camera, but almost everyone I talked to had a strong opinion, ranging from fear on the one hand to some people applauding these government-wide cuts. I traveled to Ashburn, Virginia. That's about 40 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. It's an area where you get a range of political views, but it's also a place, Errol, where a lot of people are connected to the federal government, either as direct employees or working as government contractors or for businesses that support the federal government. In a coffee shop, I met one woman, Carol, whose husband works for a company heavily dependent on USAID contracts. She says his projects for now have been shut down. His company has furloughed around 70% of its staff. Carol and her friend Janet told us some of their concerns about the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, and these government-wide cuts.
Everything just feels very indiscriminately done. There's no purpose to it. They're just slashing people without any kind of thoughtful consideration of what they do, what their job is.
I just don't understand how all this can happen and there's no control over it. And we've got people in the Oval Office now that aren't politicians, that have no right to be making these decisions.
Now, the White House maintains that DOGE and Elon Musk are advising these federal agencies, but ultimately it's up to the agency heads or the secretaries to make the final decisions about these cuts. Meanwhile, supporters of President Trump, they say that this is long overdue, that they applaud the government downsizing. However, I spoke to one supporter who says he does feel like these layoffs have been abrupt.
I think it was a little quick. I think he probably could have rolled it out a little better, but I think overall it's going to be good in the long run.
I don't think it's too abrupt. Unfortunately, we do have to pull the rug out after a while. I mean, the spigot has got to stop. This has just been ridiculous.
Now, one longtime federal employee who I spoke to off camera, he was nervous to go on camera, but he described these cuts as, quote, fantastic, thinks it's going to be a good thing in the end. Another person I spoke to who, again, he didn't want to go on camera because of his job and fears of the security of that, but he says that he really worries about the long-term impact to particularly younger talent in some of these agencies like cyber, where young, high-skilled talent is leaving government and taking their skills with them, Errol.
And Natalie, there's a wide range of opinions there that you were able to gather, but I'm wondering what the wider implications from these cuts may be.
Yeah, the opponents to this government downsizing who we spoke to, they really worry about economic impact, particularly in communities like there in Northern Virginia and Loudoun County, where there are so many people connected to the federal government. That's the case for Northern Virginia, for Maryland, obviously, around the D.C. metro area. But, Errol, keep in mind that there are thousands of federal employees who work in cities across the United States. So for places with high populations of government workers or, again, contractors, those who support the federal government, they are worried about the economic ripple effects that could happen, you know, in the months and years to come.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's not just the D.C. metro area. Natalie, great reporting. Thank you very much.